I found out that the premium nursing home was neglecting and starving my grandmother. So I made sure their biggest donor saw everything. My grandma raised me after my parents died when I was 8. She worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, taught herself to fix cars so we'd have transportation, and never missed a single school event even when it meant losing pay. When she had a stroke 2 years ago, I promised her she'd get the best care possible. I researched every facility within 50 miles and chose Willowbrook Senior Living because they had 5-star reviews, beautiful rooms, and a specialized stroke recovery program. The monthly cost was more than my mortgage, but Grandma deserved everything. The first few months were perfect. Grandma was getting physical therapy 3 times a week, eating well, making friends. The staff knew me by name because I visited every other day. She'd gained weight, was talking more clearly, and even started walking short distances with her walker. Then 6 months ago, they brought in a new director, Mr. Carson. He said he was modernizing operations. He cut family dinners to save money. He reduced visiting hours, said too many visitors disrupted routines. I could only see Grandma 3 times a week for 2 hours. The staff turnover started immediately. All the nurses who knew Grandma were replaced by cheaper workers. The physical therapist quit and wasn't replaced for a month. But Mr. Carson kept assuring families these were temporary adjustments. I noticed Grandma losing weight, but they said it was normal fluctuation. Her clothes were hanging off her and they said she was picky about food. She stopped talking as much and they said it was part of stroke recovery. She had bruises and they said her skin was delicate. When I tried to visit outside approved hours, security blocked me. I started showing up at different times during allowed visits. That's when I noticed patterns. Grandma's lunch tray would still be full at 2 in the afternoon, cold and untouched. Her water cup was always empty. Her sheets hadn't been changed in weeks. Her medication chart showed gaps. When I complained, Mr. Carson said I was being emotional and didn't understand elder care. He suggested I was projecting guilt about putting Grandma in a home. I knew something was seriously wrong when Grandma grabbed my wrist during a visit and whispered hungry over and over. She'd lost 30 pounds in 3 months. Her doctor hadn't seen her in 2 months despite weekly checkups being part of her care plan. I tried calling state services, but I needed evidence. Willowbrook was clever about covering tracks during scheduled inspections. That's when I learned about their annual charity gala. Willowbrook's biggest donor, Mr. Fitzgerald, gave them $2 million a year because his late wife had dementia. He always attended the gala where Mr. Carson would parade him around, showing off the facility's success stories. I couldn't get in as a guest, but I got a job with the catering company for that night. While setting up, I slipped away to Grandma's room. She was lying in soiled sheets, hadn't been bathed in days, barely conscious. Her roommate, Mrs. Anderson, whispered that they'd been getting 1 meal a day for weeks. The staff took the good food and sold it, serving residents expired baby food instead. I took photos of everything. The empty medical chart, the moldy food in her drawer, the untreated bed sores. Then I went to other rooms. Every resident was neglected. Mr. Peterson tied to his bed. Mrs. Williams had infections from unchanged catheters. Mr. Torres hadn't had his insulin in 3 days. During the gala, Mr. Carson was giving his speech about Willowbrook's commitment to excellence, showing staged photos with actors posing as residents. That's when I walked through the donor crowd in my catering uniform and handed Mr. Fitzgerald an envelope. Inside were the photos, including Grandma's chart, showing she'd lost 40% of her body weight. Mr. Fitzgerald stood up mid-speech. He demanded to see the actual resident wing immediately, not the showcase rooms. Mr. Carson tried to refuse, but Fitzgerald said he'd pull his funding that second. The entire donor group followed us to the real resident wing. The contrast was immediate. Dingy walls, harsh lights, that smell. When we opened Grandma's door, several people gasped. Fitzgerald knelt beside her bed, his suit touching the dirty floor. He asked how long she'd been like this. I told him 6 months since Carson took over. We showed them every room. Peterson tied up with raw wrists, Williams with infected catheter, Torres without insulin. Donors were crying, making calls to lawyers and state health. The siren started 10 minutes later. Paramedics loaded Grandma onto a stretcher. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, critical. The doctor told me if I'd waited even a few more days, she might not have survived. Carson was arrested that week on elder abuse charges. Willowbrook lost its license, and Fitzgerald started a foundation for surprise facility inspections. Grandma's at a new place now, gained all the weight back, walking independently again.